5:35.
Madam Chair, please let the records indicate that we are being joined by Select Board Chair Jeff Williams.
And were you gonna print the, I know it's not on here, but we talked about the minutes that we were gonna, we wanna skip, do
We
it
then
next time?
didn't talk about it,
Okay, alright,
and
well, okay, it's fine.
minutes aren't my favorite thing to think about,
Okay,
so.
that's fine, alright, okay, just wanna make sure, alright.
But Patricia did do and get a couple of sets for the select board done that the Public Safety Building Committee was part of, so that will be relatively easy
Okay.
to switch over. And then I have recordings with audio transcriptions of every meeting except for one from the time we started talking about actually buying 48 Gardner Road.
Okay.
There are a little bit ahead of that where we were kind of spinning our wheels that I don't have it on, but
Alright. Alright, Nate, you wanna go into,
yes.
Something else?
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of messed it up, so take one and then throw one away, and then,
Take one, oh, okay.
yeah.
Take one and throw.
Alright. Again, Dave, kind of talked about most of this stuff in emails with you, but thank you all for your hard work during the summer months. I was glad that we were able to take some time off between town meeting and now, but now it's time to get back to work. We have to do what we told the people of Hubbardston we were going to do. As of Friday, 48 Gardner Road has been successfully closed upon. We, as the town, now own the property and have tenants. So that is fun. I've already heard back from one of them asking if the construction can go on when she's not having her business open, which would be incredibly difficult, but we'll work with them. We'll work and see what we can do. The select board gave me authorization to move forward with New Kappa City construction for a contract totaling $548,195. The contract will cover all aspects of the renovation work for roof replacement, siding replacement, window replacement, doors and gutters, locks, everything. As I told you last time, it ended up with the gutters and doors not being included in there. So I went to the select board saying, hey, we can either do it as a change order or we can do it later. They decided to just do it all in one foul swoop and get it done, so that is what we're doing. We kept $5,000 back from Paul Varney to ensure that he completes the necessary DEP paperwork, including chemical treatment reports, public water system affidavit, emergency response plan, consumer confidence reports, staffing and operations plan, and a well casing repair, and a cross-connection survey. So
is there a timeline on that, Nate? Like,
I
did we
left
give?
him a message today.
Okay.
But he didn't wanna start it until this week, cause he did have a valid point. He said, Nate, why would I do all of the paperwork for one person and then turn around and you'll have to redo the paperwork once the town owns it? Why don't I just do it all once?
Okay, yeah,
And
okay.
so that, I thought that was a very valid point, and he was the one that put up, like, hey, you can keep $5,000 of my, whatever you call that, of my commission
Yeah,
until such time as I'm done.
Okay,
And
He was there Friday doing some stuff,
yeah,
concrete, I think it was the wall cap, and
Yeah.
then waiting for somebody to put a backflow valve in
yeah.
his filtration system.
Oh, so there is a backflow preventer, prevention, yeah, I thought we'd probably have that there.
Utility transition, Tricia's been transferring a lot of our utilities. We have National Grid coming over tomorrow. We transferred dumpsters today. Turns out that the veterinarian has been locking up a dumpster owned by the whole building, so we're gonna make sure that we take that lock off so that everyone has access. We're gonna work with the chief to ensure that we have the amount of dumpsters that we need, so we'll go from there. Propane has been transferred over. Tricia, anything else? Propane,
Propane
recycling,
accessories.
and
Propane is
National
all
Grid.
set, National Grid is tomorrow, there's 2 National Grid accounts, so I'm trying to merge them, one's for the outdoor lighting, they said that they'll also take a look because they know the lights are going off at random times that they should not be going off at, so when they come out to inspect it, they'll take a look at that. They urged us to do a Mass Save as well, to have Mass Save come in and try to give us, a good quote for, making the building a little bit more energy efficient. The dumpster situation is being remedied, it looks like there's a couple more things, but I'm trying to also get us a deal since we have multiple dumpsters now.
Mhm.
And, wastewater treatment and water quality, that is going to be set up as well, that's just, you place a call, they call you back at their leisure apparently. And I think that's about it. So all the utilities should be switched over, and it's just left is the wastewater to finally get a hold of someone. And then septic hauler, we have to choose one.
Yeah.
So I'll leave that up to your discretion.
I think it would be very helpful for you and for us if we were to, even if it's only a few bucks, as you consolidate all of these resources.
Yes, I'm looking
See-
for deals
I-
and.
Right, but to be able to show to the town, okay, we had 6 dumpsters and collectively it came to $100 a week, but now that we've consolidated, it's at 75.
Right, so what I
Right.
started as like a
I
utilities
want ammo
worksheets.
to,
Yeah.
as we go along, that
Show
says,
savings.
the whole process that we went through is already starting to pay dividends.
Right, so I started a utilities worksheet, so as I'm paying bills, I can say, this is what we're paying for Main Street, this is
Right.
what we're paying for 48 Gardner Road, and then as it goes forward, I'm hoping to bring those numbers down. But they don't wanna talk to me because I'm just the executive assistant, they would prefer to talk to him, so
And we will.
I might have
Yeah.
to forward him on to just
Obviously
the
not,
hammer.
obviously not right now, but
Right.
as we get closer to the
Yes,
next phase.
Yes, hopefully have some cost savings and
Yeah.
some numbers
Yeah.
that we can throw at the residents saying, here, look, we're saving money.
Right.
You're welcome.
You need an oil vendor too.
The oil vendor is already taken care of, cause it's the same
That was
that
our
we
Danny
had
Donald.
here.
Okay, whoever the state we get for contract for the town.
Yeah,
We'll have to talk to Travis about that when he gets back. We'll
yeah, no,
have to loop him into a bunch of things.
yes,
Excellent.
He's on vacation, he's gonna come back and tell, hey Travis, go fix the island. Because the island, over there is falling apart. But, so that's that, we're working towards that. I believe I'm going to have to open up the contract for the plowing over there. It's currently done by a local company, it may continue to be done by a local company, but who knows, we'll have to open that, I'll figure out how to do that in the next couple of weeks.
Can't we have the DPW plow it?
We could.
I'm sure Travis would love it if you
Yeah.
had him to plow it on the parking lot.
Well, it's a parking lot we own.
We could.
Okay, well,
It's
I'll take
it's very much difficult to do when you're already burning candles on both ends with
Sure.
being down a couple people. Everyone
Oh, absolutely,
likes-
I have great sympathy for that, I really do.
Yeah. Yeah. Depends who you ask. Certain people say there's a truck with a plow on it at the fire department. Certain people don't. But depends who you ask.
Well, there is, but you're gonna have those businesses there.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna be plowing and all that, you can't depend on us, cause
Right.
I'm short-staffed, and then if people, we're gonna have my guys come in at overtime and plow the parking lot at 2 in the morning.
No, sir.
So those are
Yeah.
the considerations, and then if they're out on a call or multiple calls during a storm, that's not gonna get plowed, and
Right.
your tenants are not gonna be pleased,
Yeah.
so.
No, absolutely.
That's for emergency use only.
Yeah. So, long story short, we're gonna open back up the contractor bid, likely end up with the same gentleman. It's not gonna be a very.
There's a lot of walkways to the shovel too.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
So-
yeah, there is, yeah.
Yeah,
Not gonna be a very enticing bid.
I wasn't even entertaining that.
Yeah.
I heard something about that. I said, well, I better meet the chief halfway around the building when he's up there. Meet him out there shoveling.
We definitely want photos.
I do not shovel anymore. That's what a snowblower's for.
Tenant communications, earlier today, a welcome letter has been sent to the tenants explaining the lease payment process and how they can contact us. I'm also drafting a correspondence to the two tenants at will, focusing on the one without a rental agreement at all that does not pay rent. I will provide more information later if it becomes necessary to provide. Because one of them has a handshake deal that they pay $200 a month. The other was previously providing real estate services that are no longer necessary with the town owning the building. So I'm going to attempt to have a conversation with them before moving forward and having any letters delivered by constables and that kind of stuff, and see if we can come to a mutual agreement prior to doing anything official and administrative. I talked to Monty Tech. They are building a factory for their carpentry students this fall, but will be available to assist us after. They want to meet later in the fall, so early winter, to talk about ways we can work together. The select board has approved the use of ARPA funds to purchase a server to move the temporary offices over to the new building. That will obviously depend on when MassDOT/Amarillo is out of there. They have been great. I brought Mary over there today. We looked all around. We do believe we're going to either be able to fit in one space or one space with like a smidgen extra. We'll see. I will obviously keep the proposal team-oriented. We'll have everyone on board, and we'll spend as little as possible.
Yep.
But we also have to, and I'm gonna be really harping on this, that will be their temporary home for the next 5 years. And they spent 50 years in their last temporary home. So I want to ensure that we are doing this correctly for sustainability and not just throwing valuable staff members into corners.
Mhm.
So
Was there a time frame on the Mass DOT thing? Do they have an idea?
their
when you-
contract is up next month, but they've already noted that they would like to stay either until the end of the year or until the end of the Templeton project. And my understanding of the Templeton project is that it's never going to end.
Oh.
So.
It's been moving at a
Okay.
snail's pace over.
Yeah. But no, they're thinking either the end of the calendar year or closer to the springtime.
Do they need that much space? How many people?
There's 6 desks, 7 desks in there. I think they kind of come and go on rotation, not necessarily go there every day to work. Just when they need to do something and they need office space, they go there and they go from there. We'll know more as we go. That is my update.
All right, we'll move on to phase 1 plans.
Alright, right here is just a small breakdown of the phase 1 kind of efforts that we will be taking on in the next few months. Step 1 would be designer selection process. This entity serves as the designer selection committee. You will be selecting the designer from the group of bid submittals that I'm hoping to get the RFP out for next week, at the very latest the following week. If we're okay with this, the way this outline breaks down, that's pretty much all I will need in order to move forward with the bid. Everything else is really jargon specific and the same as every other municipal contract. So the designer selection process begins with the Public Safety Committee serving as designer selection committee, managing the process, selecting a qualified design firm to handle schematic design, structural review, code compliance. Bye, Lauren. prepare and publicly advertise a RFQ to invite design firms to submit their proposals, review their proposals, and select the most qualified firm based on relevant experience and qualifications. This will be a two-packet submittal, one with their qualifications and another with their price. You are not allowed to look at the price one until after you've prioritized them based upon the qualifications. Any questions on this step? It's a boring step.
Very important step.
Yeah. Shortly after the town meeting, I don't know who sent this kind of stuff up, but we had OPMs and designers all reaching out saying, hey, is this something we would be willing to look at? Well, we have to do it all by the book. Step 2, schematic design, structural review, and code compliance. Following the selection, the design firm will have, the design firm will complete a schematic design, conducting a structural review and ensuring code compliance. The schematic design, develop initial layouts. This will allow us the time to meet with them to talk about exactly what different groups and different organizations from within the community want. This is when the early images like we've had before will begin to come out for us to be able to move forward and promote, or not sell, but sell the idea to the town at a later time.
That's a question.
Yep.
Is the design aspect of it, is it for the full project or just phase 1?
Nope, this would be for the full project.
For the whole project?
Like,
Okay.
the goal is to come out of this with and the reason I was told that I need a schematic design, and maybe Seth can speak to this, is to kind of solve a number of problems that could potentially pop up if we would have just hopped into the big construction design phases. So, yeah, that's that. And then code compliance. We have since we went over on the original outside upgrades, we have probably about $160,000 for code compliance. We will learn what that means at a later date. We do know that we will at the very least need ADA upgrades on the front of the building, ADA upgrades for the elevator or lift, whatever we want to call it, and there are a number of other, I'm sure, code compliance issues. A lot of the major code compliance that you're thinking with electricity and that kind of stuff, you likely wouldn't do, considering we're proposing a gut job of this building. So doing any significant electrical work or structural work would be a little bit unnecessary. Any questions? Based on internet research and similar sized projects, the schematic design and structural review, I'm anticipating to cost between $35,000 and $50,000. Step 3, essential code compliance upgrades. We talked about that. It says 200, but I'm imagining it's more like 160 at this point. So we'll see. Anything that we can utilize volunteers or Monty Tech for, we will. After the schematic design comes the design development, which I'm anticipating to cost approximately $25,000 to $40,000. This will give us quote unquote shovel-ready plans. To move forward, step 5 is the part that likely is not going to be fun. Community relations, town meeting, ballot for debt exclusion. Step 6 is hire an owner's project manager to manage the project, and that person will stay with the building from this point all until the checklist is done. That sums up phase 1 in a nutshell. I'm imagining it to cost between $60,000 and $91,000, excluding the code compliance work. I'm open for questions, statements, or just general conversation.
At what point can we start applying for grants for offsetting?
So we're gonna get.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Come on, Mike.
I'm always 2 steps ahead. Great, I took all the
Mike?
heat.
Thank you, Mrs. Chair. And I do have a question, Nate, on the step 4 design development. Is that for all phases? when you say shovel ready,
That's what we'll
phase
have to,
one?
that's what we'll have to decide, is
Okay.
where does phase 3 fall into this?
Right.
And we'll have to, if we, likely it would be everything that we would ever imagine happening as part of the initial project. But there could also be a decision made like, hey, we know that we're not gonna be able to get a garage up ASAP, we know that it's likely to be prefab. Let's just leave it out with a little box to where we think it will go. Like, it depends where we're at, kind of bandwidth wise, where we're at financially, and just
Okay.
what the appetite of the community and the boards are at that time.
The reason why I ask is that cost estimate of 25 to 40K seems to be a factor of 10 off, just quickly looking at it. Because if all of the construction estimate was in the, well, north of 8 million anyhow.
Yeah.
You know, you probably figure somewhere at least 4 to 5% for design cost, so I'm just questioning that, not knowing the full scope yet, but just using the estimates that we've used so far, that seems to me pretty low.
Yeah, and it could be.
Okay.
Like, this is, I used 5 or 6 different communities. The difference here is that we don't have site work. We don't have site work, we don't need to do any leveling, we don't need to set up that level of plan, so that does take a substantial amount off of the top, but I could be off.
Well, the fact that that kind of scope isn't in it, the scope that is in is still construction-wise in the
Yep.
5 to 10 million, let's just say
Yeah.
roughly, and that still requires a certain level of design that will be expensive, especially when you're tying in to an existing facility. So you say there's no site work, but there's gonna be approaches to the facilities for the fire apparatus, certain considerations for entering and exiting a police station and sally ports. You have to have turning radiuses. So although there's not a lot of site work for the building that's already there, we're gonna be adding substantial scope for other new construction that does require a significant amount of coordination and site work, I think.
If you're saying 250 to 400,000, that's not something we would be able to fund within the parameters of what we have right now anyhow.
Okay.
This is just the breakdown of basically phase 1 money.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
But, okay.
I might still be off, like,
Yeah. But that's why I asked the question up front, was the design development, you used the term shovel-ready, and that's why I asked, is it just for phase 1, or is it through phase 3?
These type of questions are why I'm really excited to do the designer selection phase.
Okay.
Because I've made it about as far as I can as an
Okay.
engineer with this project, and I'm,
You are an engineer.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's my best guess, but
Okay.
it is nonetheless a guess, and I could be off, but based on looking at 10 to 12 projects, doing my internet research, looking at
Mhm.
prevailing wage, it seemed to be correct at the time. When I look at it again, it could be off, and I'll just send that to you
Sure.
again, but this was all drawn up shortly after town meeting, so probably a
Okay.
month ago.
Sure. Thank you,
But
Nate.
the general.
Thank you, Madam
The
Chair.
general point here was just to outline sort of the steps that we're going to go through, not necessarily harp on one specific cost. Because if it comes out and towards the beginning, we know that, hey, it's gonna cost a lot more for X, we do less code compliance in
Yeah,
hopes of
yeah,
being able
yeah.
to do that. Like, that's all budgetary decisions that we'll make as we
Sure.
go. But
Thank
this
you.
is just, I wanted to give an idea of where we were going versus where we've been.
But that might also lead into what you were asking in terms of how soon can you look for a grant?
Now you're
Because any
jumping
kind of
ahead.
other money, any kind of other money comes in, you know,
Alright, any more questions
Yes.
on that?
Yes, the design considerations and so forth. With that, do we know what we're going to do with the second floor? Or is that part of the output of the designer's thoughts and such?
That will come out of the design.
I
Okay.
That'll be the
slash
space.
members of the staff have a rough back of the napkin idea
Right.
that will be given to the engineer, but it will hold the same level of weight as any other
Yep.
conversation held during, whether it be a public meeting or a session with a certain subset of
Right.
individuals. So at the end of the day, we have a draft idea, but none of us are engineers or
Yeah, I guess I'm looking from the design standpoint. We're not engineers. We look at the building, maybe we're looking at it with very focused sort of look. I'm hoping this design group will come in and say, have you even thought of
Oh,
doing
absolutely.
Correct.
this or that with the second floor, with this part of the building?
And that
or
is
whatever.
something you'll have to think about when picking the design group. If you
Okay.
find somebody and they build cookie cutter and this is what they do, but
Right.
you can save a little, that's one side.
Right.
And then you have the other groups that will go a lot deeper, and I think there is value in that because we touted it.
Right.
We touted the fact that it would be a community event, that
Right.
this would be, there would be a lot of opportunity for people to let their opinions be known.
Yep, okay.
Is that that?
Yep, so, anyone else, more questions? Alright, subcommittee creation.
So with that,
Nope.
noting that that is what will be pertained within the RFQ, is anyone not comfortable with me moving forward with this in the next couple of weeks? At the very least, posting that we're looking and see what we get?
Yep.
Alright, we'll do it.
I was gonna say a couple of weeks, how about a couple of days?
Subcommittee creation. The first subcommittee that we were thinking about was the grant subcommittee. And if you look in your packets, I had sent you a proposal that with your blessing, I will move forward to ask the select board to reallocate some of the server money to fund, because if there is any place I have a little bit of wiggle room in the budget this year, it's technology. So I believe I would be able to utilize $2,000 of our existing tech budget to open up this for talk amongst yourself for 1 minute while I log in there.
Am I missing a page?
Might be. I'm just pretending I don't know.
Oh, okay, just checking.
I'm not sure where we're at yet. I thought I got all of them.
Do you have,
I
do
don't
you
see
have
it
that
in this
page?
packet.
I don't have it in my packet either.
What
The page that you're talking about is not, I believe, in
Yeah, no, it
here.
has it.
Oh.
It's like a 10-page document.
Oh,
I'm gonna pull it up.
There you go.
That's why I was pretending.
You chose wisely.
Yeah, we would have really screwed that up.
shortly after the town meeting, I sent out a email to approximately 20 companies that do grant strategies and solutions. Ended up talking to a number of them informally, and one rose to the top. It is a relatively local entity that works with communities named Capital Strategic Solutions. They created this proposal for us. Their proposal essentially outlines that they are willing to be an on-call grant writer, organizer, planner for the town, as they do with many other towns. And this is different than many other organizations because most of them make you pay upfront and are not just creating a sort of client list. So I felt like this opportunity was going to be the best suited for our current situation because we do not know what is going to be needed. Their going rate for on-call clients is $180 an hour, which sounds very high until you kind of take a step back. What she was telling me is that she does not believe we will cross the threshold of $10,000 any year, not that we would be able to fund that anyway. And in the initial grant strategy phase, it would be approximately 10 hours. So what I am proposing is that we move forward in asking the select board to reprioritize $1,800 to $2,000 of the current server money to working with this company, Capital Solutions, who has their current municipal client list. It's pretty big, and all of their references check out. I've spoken to a couple of different people, and I ensured boldly, I told her, ma'am, I don't want you to come and tell me what I know. And she ensured that there would be the creation of a list that took into consideration what the town actually has to spend versus what we could pay in matching. And she said it would take approximately 10 hours to put together the initial plan, and then after that, it would be an on-call program. My idea right now, and something I plan on moving forward, is to put $5,000 to $8,000 into the capital plan to work on grant management organization-wide each year into the future.
Mhm.
That's something we'll obviously have to say this moves forward. We'll have to look at more as we realize what's going on, but I haven't talked to one community that regrets working with these people. It's obviously a hand up and not something you can rely on, but in the instances that we would be able to utilize them, I think it would be very worth the money. Meaning to assist us in figuring out the beginning of what do we want, what do we prioritize, what do we do. And then if there ends up being a grant that we know we qualify for, but it's a very, very heavy lift that we don't have the staff time for, at that point we allocate a certain amount of money off to these people, tell them, write it. Or if we get a multi-million-dollar grant somehow, some way, and we don't have the capacity to manage it, then we can pay them to manage it. It's a different price. It's not $180 an hour. But I think this would be a meaningful partner moving forward in this, even if they just help us figure out kind of our heads from our toes.
And they will probably have a much better idea as to what grants we would be best able to apply for with a higher likelihood of getting success, right?
I would hope.
Yeah.
There's the references.
I mean, if we can get enough grants that pay for their price a couple of times over,
Yeah.
that's well worth it
Yeah.
alone.
Here's the project details as outlined. Capital Strategic Solutions will provide specialized consulting services to include grant writing, management, and reporting in effort to maximize the town of Hubbardston's state and federal funding opportunities. CSS is prepared to offer the following services, including but not limited to. Well, of course it froze. Why wouldn't it? research the town's existing documents, if available, i.e. master plan, cap plan, open space and recreation plan, or other information, research possible funding opportunities on behalf of the town, and analyze grant opportunities to determine if they are viable opportunities for the town of Hubbardston, compose and prepare state and federal grant applications, including background information, assist the town with grant management and reporting, existing and new grants that have been secured, financial procurement and administrative support, attend virtual in-person meetings with town and staff and stakeholders as needed, assistance with any other grant or federal related or financial related matters as needed by the town. That's that lady. Her name's Jennifer.
So as a friend of mine's wife once said, this is a pay-the-man situation. Right? I think it would behoove us, at least for the first year or two, to have professional grant writers overseeing what we're doing and what we can go for, in order to maximize the success, as opposed to penny pinching and we're all sitting around a table going, I don't know, what should we put? I don't know. Right? I mean, if we're investing this kind of money, we want to try and get as much as we can from a grant standpoint.
And from where I'm sitting, I'm right in the same area as you, is if we pay the $1,800 and they can at the very least give us a roadmap, and then if we never use them again,
Right.
it's worthwhile to have the understanding of, all right, professionals who had 10 hours to sit down and figure out this with a background in doing this believe that this is the way we should go.
Right.
We can go that way, or we can create our own path that is similar, but I agree that this is an opportunity we should at the very least look into for the beginning.
Yes, I think it would behoove us to do that. I'm sure there's probably some smaller grants that we as a committee could probably work on. I'd love to hear from them what it would take to get a big grant, right? Like, you know, we need to build a base for the fire engines. What's it going to take for that? And they might be like listing 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different grants to go for. That sounds like an awful lot of work. I'd rather leave that to the professionals. If it's we can get a couple of $1,000 grant to build new ADA compliant steps or something like that, that's probably something we could write. So
Or something in the middle.
Or meet in the middle, right. And maybe as part of what we pay them to handle the big stuff is also teaching us, like a 1-hour session of here's how you go about doing this to get your maximum benefit out of that. I think that would be helpful. It would also help us in better understanding the whole grant process, so that when we're asked by folks in town, we can then explain, oh, this is how a grant is done, right?
I also think the town, not only in this project, but in general, if this ends up working out, which I've heard very positive stories, obviously not everyone has a 100% satisfaction rate, but should this work out, it's also very, very positive for the town to have that kind of backup when needed.
Yes.
To have a on-call relationship that you can call upon and say, hey, this is what we're doing, what are your thoughts?
It would also allow us to scope, by educating us, it would also allow us to scope, you know, we really need them, but probably only for 2 hours. Right? Because we will then, by then, have a little bit better understanding of the process and all the stuff around it. Rather than, oh, we should bring them in, how many hours? Oh, geez, I don't know. Right? I think having an educated clientele works best for everyone involved.
And as she put it, it's also very positive for her to attempt to succeed here, because it will open the doors to them working with other communities on other such projects.
Yep.
Which they do not currently do.
Right.
Like, I connected with this person through through a friend of a friend. The woman that worked for me in the mayor of Marlborough's office took a job with them after leaving there. So they weren't necessarily looking for clients.
Right.
But when I began asking for quotes and the quotes were coming in at, oh, you give me $4,000 and then we'll talk about something, and then after that it's X per hour at a upfront rate of X, this seemed like the kind of best opportunity to at least give a try.
Yep.
See you tomorrow.
See ya.
You wanted us to take a vote, oh, you have Mike, question?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Madam Chair, thank you. Nate, I've had some experience with grant writing and grant administration, highly specific and detailed. And our grant writer bit off more than they could chew. And also, there was a tremendous amount of data and information that was internal and ongoing that they had to come to us, me, to get anyhow. And so the agency just had me write the grants. Now, that was very specific, a certain type, every year the same thing, and I had access. The guys that I got the data from sat, within this room away from me. On the other hand, if you have a whole bunch of different types of grants with different agencies that have different requirements and don't have a lot of internal data needed, then, a grant writer and putting together a plan makes so much sense.
Yep.
So if we do it a la carte, there might be some, like maybe from fire or police, that are highly specialized and you have a lot of data that's needed for the grant.
Or
you
just
know,
institutional knowledge.
or institutional knowledge. I think if we can do it a la carte, once they give us a plan, and you go, no, we'll grab that one.
Yeah.
We think we can do it. And, we'll learn, especially if we do it, grant by grant, basically. Thank you.
Do you want us to vote on this at this point? Did you wanna talk about the subcommittees first, or?
No, after, the more I think about it, if we really were to subcommittee this group out, like, it's not the largest group, like, the subcommittee, we can, if there's a grant and we really think it's in Mike's wheelhouse, hey, Mike, work with Nate and the staff to get that out. From where I'm sitting right now, I don't know if we need a formalized committee, like the grants subcommittee, the footwork is the chiefs, myself, staff members, the people that are compensated to be here during the day doing this, like that's our grants subcommittee in terms of grant writing. I think this type of entity would help, cause we don't have a lot of extra time. Like I 100% go over my hours every single week, and I know a lot of the other employees working for the town do too. The town's very fortunate to have the dedicated staff that they do have. I think this would be a big assistance, even just knowing that we had someone like that to back us up in the event needed. If it doesn't work, I'll be the first one to say, hey, we gave it a try. Sorry, now we know. But from where I'm seated right now, looking at what the costs of other entities are, the other organizations that didn't even answer, and what other communities have had in experience both reaching out to these type of people and working with these type of people, it seems like at least a good shot to take. And we can utilize them in other aspects too. Like I was talking to Claudia and the library about potentially roping that all in and trying to figure out a more grandiose plan for everything moving forward, because we might as well get the most bang for our buck.
Yeah, I think, like I'll get a lot of emails and stuff from like, Office of Grants Research, but it's more equipment-based grants that are out there that I get to see.
Mhm.
They can definitely steer us in another direction when it comes to a building.
Yeah.
I
Right.
probably don't know the first thing about writing a grant for, renovation on a building.
And I'm blunt and I can figure out most things, but I told them, like, I don't want you to come here and tell me the things I know. Like, that's not what I need. Like, I know what the state is offering. I need more niche grants, federal stuff,
Yeah.
things that I may not be thinking of. Like, I don't need you to tell me that the community one-stop grants are.
What grants do I need to accomplish phase 2
Yeah.
and
Like, what am-
into phase 3?
What am I not thinking about? Like, what should we be thinking about in terms of matching opportunities? Like,
Right.
stuff like that. Like, we can't apply for these, say we applied for a $2 million grant, but it's a 10% match. Where do we get that funding? Like, what do we do? How do we set that up? Like, I think at the very least, giving this a swing is worthwhile.
Yep.
For the money. If after 10 hours we get, and it's not the greatest, we move forward on our own, and we're none the better for it.
Yeah.
But at least we gave it a shot.
Well, from what you said, talking with other towns that have worked with them, it seems like a very low risk.
And these type of businesses don't last long if they're not doing what they say
Right.
they're doing, and they have quite
Yeah,
the
the
client
word gets out
list.
fast among you guys.
Yeah. They do more than just grant work, but you don't last when you're not doing at least something for your clients.
Well, as my wife would say, I think you're selling beyond the close. So,
Yeah.
so do you need a vote from
Madam
us?
Chair, can I have a straw poll vote to authorize the town administrator to move forward and make a request to the select board for the public safety building committee and the town to work with Capital Strategic Solutions on a on-call basis for the foreseeable future? Just say so moved.
So moved.
Yeah.
Straw poll vote.
Because technically, the Public Safety Building Committee has no
Right.
ground
Yes,
to
right,
go to the
right,
to
right,
authorize me
right,
to
right,
go anywhere.
Right,
We support you.
right.
All in favor?
Alright.
Oh, yeah, all in favor, sorry, I've had a long day. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
So moved.
Any opposed?
Oh, any opposed?
All right, I will do that and let you know. I think Jeff has a clue.
Moving on,
Yep.
final siding choices.
Anything but white.
I talked to Effie, the office manager from New Capital City Construction this morning. She's gonna send us a bunch of samples. I told her, she said, do you have any colors in particular? I said, earth tones and blues. And so we'll see what we get.
Those are good colors.
They fade. Blues and red, they fade.
I did email Nate and I said I would suggest a lighter color gray or something like that.
Yeah.
Usually those last
Yeah,
quite
I
a
agree.
while. And
Yeah.
they're more neutral to, yeah.
It's not a-
He's gonna want red, I'm gonna want blue.
Yeah.
So
The church uptown,
Compromise.
was done
No, there was
in
a-
white, and I don't know what the material was, but they just cleaned all that mildew off the bottom
Yeah, I
5
noticed
feet
that the
or
other
something.
day.
And it looks good. I was wondering, the type of material that they used. Initially, I wasn't
That was a.
enamored with it, but,
That was a, like a composite
Yeah,
type
yeah.
board.
yeah.
white
What is
looks
it
nice
called?
when it's new.
Right.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, but
However-
you know,
If
you
you pick,
then we gotta spend money cleaning it, right,
Exactly.
every,
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah.
yeah, grays are pretty good,
They hold up usually a little bit better.
They don't show if they fade a little bit, so you have a lighter shade of gray.
Mm-hmm.
And they won't show the mold and mildew as much as a bright color.
Yep. The office ladies made the choice to go with no grids in the window. They were all very strong about that, so
No, what, no?
no grids, like the,
Crisscross.
Mullions.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, so there will be no grids. They said it's hard to clean, they don't
Yes,
even look
very
that
hard to
nice,
clean,
they're old.
yes.
So-
Yeah.
So no
Very hard to
grids.
clean, yeah.
Thank Mary and Patricia for their strength against grids.
Keeps the cost down, too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's got no useful function.
Alright, so they're gonna send the samples, we're not gonna put them up on the screen, they're gonna send them, okay,
I don't think we'd get anywhere opening that catalog.
okay. Alright, matters reasonably unanticipated by the chair. Anyone? Nope. We should probably quickly just plan to figure out, based on your schedule here, should we meet every 2 weeks for a little bit, once a month, like what, based on your schedule here, what are you anticipating might be best?
I don't know,
Or
because it's
per-
gonna be one of those things again.
That kind of thing that comes
where-
up.
Where the construction company, once they sign the contract and get all their ducks in a row, they're gonna have a bunch of questions that we're gonna need to answer in relative short order. But then there's gonna be nothing for a while.
Okay.
And then we're gonna reach the end of that RFP period,
Yeah.
and we're gonna have to meet a couple of times within 2 weeks to figure that out. And then there will be nothing for a little while, and then we'll need to do that whole part. So I don't necessarily believe it's going to be needed to say every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Cause I think it's gonna be on and off and on and off.
Okay.
And then occasionally you can, I'd say definitely set one at the very least once a month. And just so there is a standing meeting.
Yeah,
Yes.
and if we don't need it, we'll cancel it, or should we?
Yeah, or we'll
yeah.
plan on needing
Yeah.
it, and I'll come up with things for us to talk about, like.
Okay.
And I know eventually I'm working with the staff to come up with a proposal. I'm bringing all of the staff there on Wednesday.
Okay,
And then the CM Geeks is going to the building with me on Thursday to look at what we would need and what their CM Geeks is coming to see you guys on Thursday. Yeah, and to look at what we could do for internet and upgrading and utilization of what they have versus what we could do to save money versus what the new need will be and that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'd say set one for a
Should
month
we-
out.
a month out, if we get the
Or
samples,
maybe,
we probably
you know
want a
what?
couple weeks, right?
I'd say this time, set one for 2 weeks
Yeah.
out, cause there's no way something's not gonna come up between
Right.
then and now, even if it's just, hey, you need to tell us what color so that we
Yeah,
can
yeah,
order.
yeah,
So I'd say set it for 2 weeks, but then after that, depending on where we are, and I'll try to get the RFP out so that will land 2 weeks following that. So,
okay,
but we also don't wanna act too quickly because we have 5 years worth of time to count.
yes, okay. The 7th would be 2 weeks out from today, but the select board meets on the 7th, and Columbus Day is the 14th. So that brings us to the 21st
Looks like we can't meet on Mondays.
Right, cause on the 21st, the select board's back.
Yeah.
Okay,
So it looks like we're not meeting on Mondays. So we can't do Wednesdays, we learned that.
That's right.
still? She's still in cheer camp
Yeah,
on Wednesdays?
oh yeah. Believe me, I spent all day
I thought this
yesterday.
was a summer camp.
No, I spent all day yesterday at Gardner High School for a cheer
Tuesday?
competition.
Tuesday?
Oh my.
Can do Tuesdays, Mondays,
Things you do for your
Tuesdays,
grandchildren.
Tuesday?
Tuesdays.
Tuesdays? Mike, Tuesdays?
Sure.
Yeah, I'll make that work.
Okay,
I'm unemployed, so sure.
okay,
What was the date of that?
Tuesday the 8th is the
Yeah.
next,
Oh,
would
the
be
8th?
the next,
Yeah.
that'd be 2 weeks out,
I'm free.
Tuesday.
okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
before we adjourn, cause that's, seems like what's gonna happen
Where we're
next.
headed?
There was a couple of things that just
Oh,
came
let's
up in
do
these,
6.
in comments that I'd like to, mention. And when you've got CM Geeks out here, are they gonna look at the existing comms in the building?
All CM Geeks is coming to look at right now is what I would need to do to get over there temporarily.
Okay.
That's it, because I had.
Cat 6 drop lines
I
everywhere.
had not thought about things like servers and type of inputs that we would need, so that he's not looking at the whole building.
Okay.
He's coming over strictly to
Just
say,
for a server site.
what would the town need to operate out of here? Is there any grounds for efficiencies between what the fire department's already paying for
Right.
Mhm.
and what we would need to do this?
Well, this is a longer term thing and had extensive experience with this and problems with it. is that the existing communications, data lines, all that stuff, anything that's, can't be reused, and probably a lot of it won't be,
Needs to come out.
needs to come out, and as-bills need to be clearly done for the new infrastructure that's put in. And the reason for that is we know we have a lot of turnover, and you'll get somebody that's got some IT experience, and they'll end up, being beneficial, but then when they go, you need to have that continuity, and sometimes as-bills are that continuity.
Yeah.
And so you get them from the initial installation, and then you get them updated as changes are made. That's just a point for looking down into the
Yeah,
future.
you don't wanna create a whole bunch of technical debt that you have to undo later on.
Exactly.
Do we have fiber? Do I need the 10 buildings?
That I don't know, I don't believe anywhere in town has fiber.
No. You're gonna be using Charter, right?
We use Spectrum,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then, I guess while you're talking about that, I thought of, almost everybody has mentioned solar. How do we want to go about that? Is this something we want to look at a later point as a town meeting vote? Do you guys want me talking to those salesman-y people about the deals we could get? Like, the town doesn't necessarily want to enter into any long-term deals or rent-to-own situations,
No,
but-
you wanna purchase, right? I did this with my house. Long-term deals, no, we don't get any of the benefits. The question is does the town get the same type of tax benefits as residential? I don't have any idea if there's any sort of program to help offset the cost of doing this. This might be a grant situation versus a tax situation. Certainly, if we were able, there are for residents, like 0% solar loans. Mass Save might be the right place to start with.
To start, yes.
Yeah, they would, I would try and get a Mass Save person in there as soon as possible, not only to do your energy evaluation but also to validate some of the concerns, and, they'll look up in the attic and say, oh, I could throw another 2 feet of stuff in here and you'd be great, or whatever. They would also be able to guide you from a solar standpoint. If you have questions, I just did this year with my house. I have solar plus batteries, and I haven't paid an electric bill since April.
I'm paying for us both.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm paying for you too then.
Yeah,
Oh no, nobody's paying for me.
No.
I bought it. I bought this myself.
We still have to check on the warranty of the roof. Because once you put solar on a roof, you lose your warranty on the roof. So
Yeah,
we
Brett
tried
Feldman.
prior to call a solar company to get a roof and a solar combination before we committed to,
Yeah.
and no one would talk to us because we didn't own the building yet.
It wasn't much before. This was really
Well, it was quick, okay, but they still wouldn't
Yeah,
talk to
yeah.
us until we actually owned the building. I actually got red flagged on their call list because they thought I was trying to pull a fast one.
Yeah.
But, so that is the biggest thing about, we need to find out what the warranty is on the roof of the building, and to know if we are gonna lose our warranty if we do end up putting solar on, so this may be a few years out. Unless we put it on the ground somewhere,
Right.
or on the fire,
When we
on that,
build
yes,
new,
yes.
there's some great places
Yes.
to put solar
Yeah.
when you're
Carport.
building.
Oh.
Big one.
Carport.
They're doing that everywhere.
Yeah, they are,
Yeah.
they are,
Yeah.
They
in the
are,
parking lot.
yeah.
They don't have to plow it.
Every
Probably
parking,
not a bad
they
idea.
put it
to
right
be
over the
honest
top
with
of the
you.
parking.
was it Ashburnham that had
Ashburnham
solar
also.
poles
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
over, it was
Gardner
crazy,
does.
all
Yeah,
over,
Gardner does
yep,
as well.
yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that is
Hospital,
the other
hospital does,
option,
yeah.
but,
Fe- Federal
yes.
government
aren't on.
does that all
The
the
ones at the
time.
hospital aren't on.
Hayward Hospital, they have the whole thing.
Yeah,
Ask them how much energy they're pulling from it.
Oh,
They're not using, or maybe they give them to us.
Yeah, they're not on.
really?
Yeah.
What?
let's finish this up.
Okay.
Yeah, I know that there's a ton of different ways you can do
Yeah.
solar, so
Yep.
we should definitely
Yeah.
probably talk to someone about it and
Yes.
see what
Now
our
we own the
options are.
building.
Yeah.
And I'm sure our green communities rep
Yes.
would be willing
Uh-huh.
to connect us with.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe that's the first stop.
Yep.
Owning the building was an important
Well, that was a big
hurdle
step.
to
yeah.
cross
Yeah.
in order to get people to talk to us about things.
Well, everything's gonna be pushed towards heat pumps and not fossil fuel, so.
Right.
Because all the tax credits are going away for propane and gas and oil, so,
Going away.
going away.
Oh, yeah.
Yep,
How soon do you know?
I think it's November 1st, I think, if the last mass save you can't get for propane or oil.
Yes.
Yeah, so heat pumps only. I don't know where you get electricity from, but to support these, but
Solar.
solar, that's right.
You can't get like a furnace anymore or a
Nope.
water heater?
Nope.
It's just an electric water heater?
Electric water heater, yep,
And on-demand
on
hot
demand,
water.
yep, that's it.
Which if you have enough solar is great.
Right.
If you don't have power,
Yep.
you're screwed.
That's right.
Again, thank you all. Appreciate all the work you did over the summer and I look forward to working with you on all this.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Yep.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. All right.